I'll just go ahead and start with a couple of brief announcements. My name is Sarah Scarborough, and I'm the Director of Student Media at the University of South Carolina, and I serve as the Director of Marketing and Communications for CMBAM. I do want to let you guys know that we will be recording this happy hour so that we can share it with folks who are unable to attend. So just wanted to let you know about that. And in lieu of introductions, I just thought, I think we've got some new folks on the call that may not know other folks. So before you ask a question or make a comment, maybe just introduce yourself and say what school you're from so we can kind of keep up with where everybody's from. And I would like to start, looks like a couple of folks are still coming in, but we can go ahead, I think, and turn it over to Leslie for some updates on the convention for spring.
Yes, so we're still doing it. That's exciting. Oh, I got muted. Obviously we'll be remote, but we kind of have like a broad idea that we wanted to share with everybody. And if you have any thoughts or ideas about that, we can talk about it. You can also email us anytime if you have any thoughts or if there's something else you would like to see. And some of you may have attended the ACP CMA fall convention. We weren't so sure we wanted to go with that structure, and we were trying to maybe come up with something different that fit better for our membership. So we were thinking of basically, when you register for convention, you get access to 25, 30 session pre-produced videos. So those are all finished. We have the topics. I have a list of topics, but we have those, and you just get those to watch on your own time for however long, we haven't decided. And then during convention week, each day there would be one live event. So on Monday or whatever, we'd have a keynote speaker. On Tuesday, we'd have some sort of roundtable live interaction with each other. One day, maybe a couple of days of those, another keynote one day, individual awards, and then the big company awards celebration at the end. So that the live commitment would be one thing a day instead of all day for 2 or 3 days. Going the sessions, and then you would have those videos to watch when you can with your students. We're also thinking of organizational pricing again. So it's like your whole staff and just here you go, instead of per, sweet, Xana likes that, instead of per person. And then we also talked about doing a per person price as well. So if you have a staff of just one, then obviously it wouldn't be the higher rate because you're only sending one student as opposed to someone who could send 12, or not send, no one's going anywhere. Watch 12 people watch them. So that's kind of the structure that we were thinking. So as far as like how we have been having convention with ACP, that would be different as well. This would kind of be like, CMBAM world. They wouldn't necessarily use that structure. And then if we did use that structure, there's lots of different platforms that we've looked at. They used Pathable, which is very expensive. And then we've kind of like experimented with a few others.
And one of the other things to Leslie that we had talked about is it probably wouldn't be scheduled the same week that ACP would be scheduled, so that we're not trying to step on each other, because we have that freedom with a digital convention. So we would be kind of trying to space it out accordingly.
Yeah, and so we don't have the date yet, but we would likely, if we do split, we'd likely go later than them, like the week after or whatever. So we thought that that structure kind of addressed some of the issues like time zones and just that Zoom fatigue of sitting in front of your computer for 8 or 9 hours to attend a convention, and that the problem that work is right here on the computer. We don't go to another city and are detached from our office. We're still very much in it. We thought this structure might address some of those issues. So.
Awesome. Any questions about the convention or comments or thoughts before we jump in to our agenda? Okay, well, I shared the agenda with you guys, and really we kind of broke it down into 3 different buckets, and got a couple of folks from the Marketing and Communications Committee. I'll kind of get us started with kind of talking about the semester and some lessons we've learned, really just kind of talking about the experience. I think when we started these happy hours, there was a lot of unknowns, and we were leaning on each other for kind of support and sharing ideas, and now we're coming to the end of the semester. And so I think it's going to be kind of interesting to hear from you guys about how the semester did go, maybe some surprises or trends that you saw. Then after we kind of go through that, I'm going to turn it over to Alan, who will talk about the student piece of the equation, how your students have been doing. And then from there, Catherine will take it over and we'll talk about looking ahead to the spring semester and beyond. So with that, I really would just like to kind of open up the discussion and hear from you guys about how things are wrapping up. I mean, I think we're all very close to being finished. Many of us, I think, are going full remote after Thanksgiving. So how did fall end up for you guys? Any surprises?
I'll start if that's okay. So we decided to go, Catherine Ross, the Director of Sales and Marketing, Daily Pennsylvania at the University of Pennsylvania. Penn was going to have people come back in the fall, and then they didn't. So we were going to have a print edition, and then we didn't. And most of our students were like, good, now finally we can really focus on digital and go all digital. But now we're running up against this situation where our students want to do things in print. So we did an election guide in print, 3,000 copies, really short press run, not a lot of distribution points on campus because nobody's here. So focused on, coffee shops and our off-campus drop boxes. And now they want to do, so Penn, there's no one here now, so no one's going home on Friday and not coming back. We do have a lot of students in off-campus housing, of course, but they want to do a year-end edition that they want to do in print, sort of like a look back of 2020, like this commemorative sort of thing. And I don't know how many people are going to be here. So this is my curveball of the week. They're like, Catherine, we really want to do this. Can you sell something? I'm like, probably I can sell something, but for a team that was so excited just to really go all digital and focus on all digital stuff, now they're like, no, we want to be able to touch things. We want something in print. So
they want to make a yearbook.
Exactly what they want to do. So anyway, that's what I'm up against this week. How about you guys? How do you explain to them like, hey, totally fine to do print, but there's not a lot of people here. So are we doing it for ourselves?
Yeah, is that your staff, or is that you getting requests from the actual campus as well to have a print product?
That's just our staff.
See, and the best way that we kind of handled that football delicately is we put out a survey to our readership, like our newsletter. So it wasn't scientific by any stretch of the imagination, but we asked if people would rather receive their stuff digitally. And so that way it wasn't us making the decision. It's just like, look, guys, the readership overwhelmingly said that they would prefer to have a digital product. And shockingly, I was surprised that our advertisers actually participated in that digital product a lot more willingly than I thought that they were going to. The threshold was a lot and the compromise was we did 4 special sections during the fall semester, but we did them all in a PDF flipbook format that we exclusively pushed on our email edition. So that was the only thing that was pushed out in the email edition, and the readership rate on that was shockingly, once again, like these are the surprises that I had. We did about $12,000 to $13,000 in ad sales, and we sold it kind of like a print edition, but just didn't print it. So profitability wise, they ended up kind of syncing up with the same margins as we ran last year because of the printing costs and the distribution costs had been removed from them. So, but whenever we have to make a dicey decision like that, if we can do any sort of like focus group or survey type stuff where it's the readership that's responding, I really opt toward that, because then it's not people kind of focusing on their internal biases and kind of nostalgic need to have something in print, because we got a whole bunch of bound volumes that they can flip through every single day if they really want to. So if you want to touch something, you can.
So Charlie, were those, you said you did 4 of the flip books for the fall semester, and was that 12 per issue or 12 total for your revenue?
Per issue. They varied from about 10,000 to, I think our top was about 15. And what they were is it was a back to school / orientation edition that replaced our back to school orientation edition. We did an election guide, we did a living guide, and then we did a fall sports guide. Once, and we were only planning on 3, but then when the Big Ten said that they were going to have games again, we jumped on that and quick ran out and sold the sports guide. So,
and what platform do you use for those?
we designed it just in a PDF platform, and then we uploaded it to Issue, and then we used MailChimp, our MailChimp newsletter, to distribute it. So.
And you said people read it? Like the engagement was good?
Yeah, engagement was, well, I mean, I'm not super, like, it matched probably our pickup rate for, we got about a 40% open on the emails.
That's not bad.
I don't know if I necessarily want to share the issue statistics. But we also did some deep linking, and we have the professional issue account that's like, I want to say about $400 a year, that allows you to do some additional kind of deep linking in a PDF, so that like when people are flipping through it, if they hover over the ad will link back to the advertiser's website, different things like that. So
That's cool.
I don't know if it's going to be sustainable, but it really helped us kind of pivot our advertisers from the shock of going to no print to then, like, it was kind of a bridge platform for us, where we have been able to sell more advertisements onto the website and into the email edition now because of it. So.
Cool, thank you for that. That's a good idea.
Yep. So who is still printing a weekly publication, or more than, what's your frequency at this point, and how is that going for you guys? Are there people to pick up the paper?
I can talk about that a little bit. We were doing twice a week, Monday and Thursday editions, and we went to a weekly Thursday edition for this fall and then again in the spring. But what I encountered that kind of surprised me is our students were this team wanted so much to focus on digital that it was really a fight to get them to put together a once a week print edition. And we did have students back on campus. We had probably about 84% of students returned. We have a larger amount off campus here at WashU in St. Louis. But because they've spread out the dorm, residences to where they're more spaced out. So we were able to get a lot more off-campus apartment advertising for students scrambling to find a place to live. But what really surprised me this fall was just how much of a battle it was to get our team. And I wish they had, I think it was Catherine maybe who had talked about their students having a flashback to wanting to do print. I'm not sure they're liking the digital realm, and we really need to print to sell, our revenue model right now it really helps us to have something in print. But like, we just adopted Issue and a digital flip book this semester. So we're trying to morph over into that ability, and even getting our students in the habit, we weren't sure what was going to come this fall, so we wanted our students to be in the habit of doing a print layout. Even if we didn't end up being able to print it, we wanted to be able to pop it up online. So that's kind of where we were on that. But I'm wondering if anyone else, staff, had some resistance to doing the print. If they think they're just finding it difficult to do remotely. I don't know. That was a kind of where we are.
Thank you, Adrian. James, I see that you guys went from daily to weekly. So how was that worked on your campus? You dropped from 7,500 to 5,000 once a week. And before that, you were 5 days a week at 7,500. Is that right?
We were still at 7,500 this semester, but once a week. One, we've saved a lot of money on print cost, about $35,000 this fall. Two, it's actually kind of helped our students. We're a little behind in terms of thinking digital first. This has now kind of really helped them pivot and see the potential of a digital first mindset. For us, our digital advertising has doubled. And our advertisers are actually liking the weekly print model because it has a longer shelf life versus a new paper every day. So it's been working for us. Same problems though. There was some hiccups in terms of just collaboration. They're all working, our students are working off of a server, and they kind of laid out their process for that, but they're still pretty adamant about having a print product. They're trying to have conversations to go back to a daily paper once this all kind of blows through. But we're trying to really just let them know, I mean, at this point, you got to pivot. And the new normal, the normal is not a thing anymore. And really just trying to get them to think digitally first. And how can we start revamping those digital ad spaces?
Thank you. For the sake of time, we've got a lot to kind of cover, but I'm curious to hear from you guys about how the local business landscape looks and how the revenue is playing out. We're seeing huge cuts really with our campus partners, but then also local businesses. So just kind of curious to hear from a few of you guys of, what it's looking like in your markets.
We still had a lot of advertising from bars, and they didn't get to reopen until I think end of September, and then they got to be open for a month and got to close back down because we have 25% hospitalization rate and tents outside of our ERs now. And, we're in like the top 10 in the entire country in numbers right now. So that's not good on any front, but especially from an advertising front. Our restaurants are back down to 50% capacity. So we're not down as much as I thought we might be, just because we were able to pivot our best of section from the spring to the fall. So I've had, I think, 4 or 5 special sections this semester, and those have sold relatively well. I currently have 1 scheduled for the spring, so I'm not feeling great about that. But so that's been a big hit for us. Our housing didn't need us as much because all the people who couldn't live in the dorm automatically punted to the apartment complexes around campus. And so most of them are full. And we had still been doing classifieds. I mean, it wasn't making a ton of money, but, we'd have, $75 in classifieds per paper or something. So it was enough to keep justifying it. Today we had 6 classified ads for tomorrow's paper. So that's fun to put on a page now. But we're, like I said, we're down, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. But I think only because we were able to have the special sections.
We're down about 40%. Might be higher than that. I was just doing some quick math. We lost pretty much all of our print advertising. And most of our print advertising, even prior to this year, was tied to special editions. So the back to school, the roll call, that still did relatively well for us, but we lost homecoming, we lost family weekend, which were 2 big ones for us. And we've got a few, we don't really have traditional classified. We have something called the marketplace, and we have a few of those every week. And we have 1 advertiser currently outside of the marketplace in print. But we're still printing every week. We cut from 10,000 down to 7, but I'm we're very separate here between the advertising and the editorial side, and regardless of what we might say on my side of the room, the students are going to do what the students want to do over there. So, you know, it's not going well. We did okay with our Roost Housing Fair. We did it virtually. We're not going to get away with that again in the spring because we kind of used up all our tricks with the one in the fall. So we're brainstorming that right now. But yeah, we're just, we have no advertising from bars. We're in a small market, and Brothers Bar and Grill, I don't know if any of you have a Brothers on your campus. They were our second largest advertiser, and they stopped advertising completely. They can't even pay their bills. You know, we're working with them on a payment plan. You know, we're looking for new options. I will tell you that our coupon book that normally comes out at the beginning of the year, we moved to January. And aside from not having a sponsor, which we usually do, the coupons are selling okay. And we thought that might be the case with businesses needing to recover in the time of year, and it's a relatively cheap buy. That's not doing too bad. And the other thing that we did that was successful, just in case you need it, we normally do a grad magazine that's just produced on the advertising side. We sell graduation wishes, and we run a list of all the graduates. And this year, we actually merged that with the last edition of the Daily News newspaper. It comes out on Thursday. So our wishes are in there, the names of the graduates are in there. But then the Daily News also created some special content, kind of looking back at the year and the pandemic. And we sold more advertising into that issue than we have ever in the past with some of these, with the grad magazine. And I think it's primarily because there's no in-person ceremony, so we sold more wishes. And so I'm hopeful, not that I don't want there to be an in-person ceremony in May, but that's certainly given us at least I think we broke even this month, so that's nice.
We're down at least 50 to 60%, I would say, somewhere in there, primarily just from a lack of anything related to football. So we have games, but no one's here. Campus Corner's dead. The whole town is dead. All the businesses are angry. It's not a good place to be.
Heather, are they letting people come to your games?
Yeah, but it's like 20% or something. So, I mean, it's not like you can like drive down the street in front of the stadium because they don't even bother to close the street down this year. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like our basketball preview runs tomorrow. And I'm like, yay, we made more than 2018, but we made way less than 2019. But it also starts the day before Thanksgiving, and nobody's thinking about basketball right now. So
yeah, just the whole town here, everything here. It's a bummer. That's my contribution.
Thanks, Heather.
Welcome.
I think it's a kind of an interesting segue to talk about our students, because our campus is dead as well. I mean, it feels like summer here. There's nobody in the union. We've got thousands of students living off campus. I think we've got 6,000 living on campus, but it's deserted essentially. And so we have a student sales team, and we see some challenges. And so I'll turn it over to Alan to kind of talk about the student piece of this as far as how it relates to your operation and how that's working out.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. Hey, everyone. I'm Alan Vaughn. I'm the general manager of the Daily Nebraskan in Lincoln, Nebraska, and thankful to be on the communication committee. Can we call that the ComCom? Do we do that? Is that a thing? We're going to now, if that's okay. Anyway, I'm still new to this. This is my second school year after taking over for Dan Shatil, and our sales and marketing director, she is also new to it. And so we have spent a ton of time like trying to figure out how we want to go about our work. And then it both dawned on us that we've never worked with students or maybe even part-time employees, if that makes sense. You know, it was hard for me to not understand owning every inch of a person, so to speak, as a manager, right? In professional environment, like they have to do everything we say, so on and so forth. And here it was a very different concept. So I guess under that pretense, has keeping students motivated, whether they're sales or graphic design or anything else, have you all seen that to have been even harder this year? Because my guess is it's always pretty hard, but does anyone have any stories or anything helpful to say about how to manage them, or that it has been harder and you've overcome that challenge this semester?
I'm going to start by the exact opposite. I've been shocked at how motivated they have been. And I think it's only because most of them, all their classes are online. There is nothing else for them to go and do and be around each other. And so we are working in the office, distance, all of those things. But I feel like the effort has been greater. And I'm sure that means their class effort isn't as great as it normally is. And we've had conversations about that. If we had these kids working this hard in a normal year, how, the things that we could do. So my experience has been different, but I will tell you, yes, in a normal situation for me, it has been, especially I think it goes in waves times of the year. They're very motivated at the beginning. And then, probably about midway through the semester, it's, you can see them start to lose their motivation. So that's been.
Well, that's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. What's your secret? I want to know that. Like, how have you done it? Like, how's the culture? How have you built that? Like, I think that is commendable. If there's anything you can point to that you've done, that's tremendous.
Well, I don't know the way the rest of you were set up, but because we are a business and bring in money, this is not, it is student led, but I'm the boss. And so I think that is certainly helpful. I mean, it's a job and they're told what they're supposed to do. But I may have to think about that because I don't know. I mean, what I will say is they have certainly seen the students that are in our program and that work for us, they get jobs. We have students getting jobs before they graduate. And when they look at the rest of the people that are in their major or whatever it is, they're struggling a little bit, especially in this environment. But I think that's certainly motivation for them is they know what this turns into. I also often hear that they are learning more working at the agency than they do in their classes. So, and that I doubt that that's unique to Ball State, but I know that certainly helps. But listen, you're going to have a year. I think it depends on who your student leadership team is. We have great leaders in some divisions that really help motivate and kind of bring those students along. But I've had, some years with some of our different divisions where, the leader isn't as strong and isn't as good. And so then you can see that, fall down through the ranks. It's not always perfect and it's not always this way. I certainly want COVID to go away, but it's been good for their motivation.
See, but I think that's our next big challenge for student management and leadership is like, my office is a little bit different. The university isn't allowing us to be in the office. So now I have a whole generation of students that have worked for the Daily that have never stepped into our offices.
Yep.
And I'm worried about leadership retention and kind of the passing of the baton for next fall, because our president just came out and said we are going to be remote through June 30th now, at least. And we've adapted pretty well as far as the recruitment and doing like Zoom interviews and different things like that. But like, there is a component that our students aren't getting right now at the Minnesota Daily where that social interaction, like if we could be in the office, I think that would help buffer that quite a bit. But I also want to be safe and make sure that we're following all of our guidelines, but I'm a little concerned about the hiring of this next round of management or leadership for our organization, because they haven't literally worked together at all on anything. We're actually trying to offset that a little bit. We're actually floating out the editor-in-chief and the business operations officer applications almost a month and a half earlier than we normally do.
Yeah, that's smart.
To get it on everybody's radar and to get people kind of thinking about it, because I've had just offhand comments from my students that while they are really zoned in on doing like individual projects and stuff, like our productivity has been really good and steady, because I think nobody has anything else to do, like Elizabeth was talking about. Like they find joy in not doing homework, but doing work. But everybody's kind of got their head down and doing a little bit of tunnel vision and not really thinking about what are the next steps. And because I had a student that's just like, yeah, I was working all weekend and I forgot that I could start registering for classes on Friday because I wasn't in a class and nobody was reminding me to do that. And so like some of those types of things I think are going to kind of fall to the wayside if we're not managing them. As far as institutional knowledge and just departmental handoffs in a exclusively digital environment.
My issue is my two that had been on staff last year, I can't get to plug in and do much of anything to save their lives. The two that are brand new and knew nothing different than the chaos that is this year, they're up here every day. They're working their butts off. They're not selling anything, but it's not for lack of effort. So that phenomenon startled me. I don't really know some of its personalities. I know that, but I can't figure out how to get the new two to drag the old two with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the camaraderie is real. I mean, the camaraderie part, Charlie, you mentioned is a real, I mean, it's a real thing. We're trying to facilitate that, but it's really difficult. I say that to our editor all the time from the beginning of the year, just from the newsroom perspective. I was like, this is a social club. Like you're doing cool journalism, but like really like this is, 3/4 social club, just over the top on the camaraderie. And we've been piecing our team together, but we've heard our message has been like, this semester is hard. We didn't have a fall break. We didn't have Labor Day. We're just ground to the bone. And they haven't enjoyed the work as much as whatever. Now we have a lot of new people who are still trying to train and to turn the corner and show them what success is like. And we've had it in fits and starts, but it hasn't necessarily been that. So I'm glad to hear that there's some good effort out there. Does anybody have tips on like how to manage students remotely, or just how to manage students at all? Like, is there any cookbooks on that? Like just for newbies? Like, I'm just trying to think about all of that type of stuff.
And I would add too, any success stories on engaging remotely, because that's
yes, definitely,
difficult but important. So
I would agree with that.
I'm not sure if this is what this is going to say about me, but I don't allow them to, because I have heard probably more on the editorial side, oh, we're stressed and we're, this and that doesn't play with me, and they don't get to use that. Our motto here at the agency is you don't have to be here, you get to be here. And listen, it's not an unhappy place. They are happy and I think they like me. But I also kind of don't care, because I'm here to make sure that the job is getting done and that they learn. And I'm, everybody has to do what works for them, but that is one tip that works for me, is that they have high expectations here that they have to meet. They're allowed to make mistakes and we're going to screw up, and they know that, and they know that I think that that's okay, but I set the bar pretty high. So, that I don't know if that helps you at all, and that might not be your personality or the environment that you want, but that is, I think that keeps them all performing. And as far as virtual goes, I don't know, because we struggled this summer. The only thing that I felt that really helped lift everybody was when we had Zoom meetings and we were all on the call together. So we leave after Tuesday and we don't come back until January 19th. And we're pretty much going to be dormant. There's just not much for us to do, which is rare, but I would encourage as much as we all hate meetings, I think seeing each other, it helped me this summer, so.
And I'll start. One thing that helped me when I started, and in fact, it was a charge when I was hired, was to develop some structure to the team. And so I created a one-sheet set of expectations they have to sign when they're hired. Also, and luckily last year, my manager helped really streamline it a little bit better and get the acceptance within the students. The first year and a half, there was some resistance because it was new, but sign a contract of the expectations, then along with the job description, then each week for me to approve their time. We have two different pay scales. They do an hourly as well as flat rate for their commissions or bonuses, extra stuff. For me to sign off on that, my student manager signs off on it, but for me to sign off on it, they have to turn in a contact report. And I've pretty much done an Excel spreadsheet that has a drop down. So they get higher credit if they close a sale, but they also get some credit if they're doing prospecting and outreach, because we all know that develops the pipeline. So they do get some credit. And then bonuses, sometimes I'll do surprise bonuses. So that way there's a little bit of excitement and positivity. This year, our manager has been really good. Over the summer, it sucked. We had our orientation magazine and they made 0 sales. I could see them clocking in. I could see stuff on the call sheet, but we also have a delegated email. So I can see the emails and I track the emails and compare it to their call sheets. But I couldn't see some of the reporting that they should have been doing. Then I gave them a deadline and I said, for you all to get credit, you have to close by this date. That gave me a window to jump in and rescue because I didn't want the editorial team to go down because we didn't sell. And we ended up doing not as good as we have in the past. We did as good as 2018, but not as good as 2019. But I thought it was going to be terrible and it was not. Let's see, was it about 18,000 for our orientation magazine? And our highest was like 30,000 last year. So I used that as motivation. When we came back to school, I did a survey, didn't tell them how much we sold because one, they should have picked up the magazine to see it, right? But that first week of school, that was a test. And then if they answered yes, they got a really big bonus that they'd picked up all of the publications that were on the stand that week. And then ask them to rate how much they thought had been sold. And I got everything from 1 ad to 2 ads. I said, well, as a matter of fact, we sold this many pages and this much money. Now raise your hand, which of you sold an ad? Of course, no hands were up, but mine. And I said, I get nothing for selling, but my motivation for selling is the editorial team because I want us to look good. And it's a team effort, not an advertising versus editorial. And if we fall down, it makes it that. So I'll shut up, but those were my helpful tips. And I think it helped. I mean, you have to have the manager behind it. And I was fortunate last year that we had an awesome manager. This year, he's good. He's not as good as last year's. Don't tell him that. He wants to be, but the pandemic has put a damper on that, but he's tried his best. So I think those two individuals have been great at helping me add structure.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I appreciate you sharing that. From an expectation standpoint, I mean, that's really, I think, what Elizabeth is talking about from the culture, building the culture, right? It's like you build the culture and then all of the remote work, you just have to adapt it, but you don't have anything if you don't have that. you know, and be able to do that, because then you can, because I love what you all are saying is like, oh, they love this work, homework, not so much, but this work they love, right? And so if you can tap into the essence of that, I think that's really inspirational and helpful. So I appreciate you all saying that. Sarah, how much more time do we have in this segment, or is that it?
Yeah, I think we probably should move on to looking ahead. And Catherine, I'll let you kind of take it away with this topic.
Okay, cool. So hi again, Catherine Ross, Daily, Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. So they just closed our city again, starting Friday until January 1st. So we have zero local advertising. Real estate is way up. Thank God, because everyone's scrambling to find a place to live. Penn allegedly is opening for the spring, but they're going to close down again because the city just closed down. So my tip, Alan, in motivating your team is just keep them talking all the time. So I just, Betsy posted that they use Slack. We use Slack also. And I found, other than you have to turn off notifications at night because, you know, the majority of my kids are doing work from like 7 till 2. I'm 48. I go to bed at 11 now. So, you know, it's a little, schedules are off slightly, but Slack really helps. So I highly recommend that. So let's talk about the spring. So Penn allegedly will be open in the spring, but I doubt they will. So I'm going to be in the exact same situation where I have no local businesses, no bars or restaurants. Hopefully real estate will continue to thrive. And one of the things we're looking ahead to doing is potentially doing a print edition, even though there will be no one in the dorms and no campus employees working. So we're thinking of a print edition for the spring, very limited distribution, obviously. How many of you, show of hands, will be doing something in print? And if you don't have your camera on, if you could just post in the chat channel. All right, so everyone's doing something in print at least once a week. So I'm gonna start calling on people for fun. So Michelle, you said you guys are still doing print now. Can you unmute yourself and talk about what you guys did this semester and how it might be different for next semester?
Yes. So we reduced our print from printing 4 days a week to printing once a week to being a weekly paper. We also expanded our distribution to not just distributing on campus, but downtown Fullerton is a popular spot of restaurants and shops. And we have now expanded our distribution to there, and that's helped quite a bit. We're in a unique situation where we've got 40,000 students on our campus, but only about 2,000 are allowed on campus for certain classes that were approved. My entire team, the whole advertising marketing team, is not allowed to be on campus. The editorial team, there's about, they've gone from about 30 or 40 students in on a nightly basis to about 8 just on Sundays. They want to be printing more. So they would like to be printing twice a week. But I think, we're under the same guidelines for the spring where it's status quo. So the goal is just to continue to print once a week in the spring, and to hopefully just maybe expand distribution points beyond the campus to keep that going. But it's challenging. What I like about the print, I know people are talking about special editions, is that we're still able to do our special editions, like the Welcome Titans guide. We do a grad guide. We did a voters guide. We actually printed twice during the election week to do the election results, but it helps us with regards to having those additional opportunities. But we're having a harder time selling print than we are in our digital platforms.
So you guys are doing the same thing mostly for the spring, because nothing's changing in California either. Wow.
Correct. And we just went to purple. We went to we basically shut down yesterday, or what's today, Wednesday? On Monday, our state was shut down as well.
Craziness. Anybody adding services for the spring semester? So I'd be interested to hear from Betsy or anybody that has an agency model. Are you guys adding any new services or any new products for the spring to offset print losses?
Trying to remember. No, I mean, we moved the coupon book. This is a really stupid question for me not to have an answer for, so give me a second.
No, it's totally fine. And I apologize for calling you out, but I was just
Okay.
curious.
No, it's okay. I mean, we're adapting everything. We're having more conversations on what we're not going to do based on what we, or, you know, instead of replacing. We have an event that we do every spring. And I'm sure some of you do these. Used to be Best of Ball State. Now we're calling it Best of 2021. And we're looking to find new ways to do it to drive more revenue to that, because it's not related to really student media. There's nothing print involved. So it's more kind of looking at the things that are still bringing in some money and still have some interest, and how can we do more or better. Agency services for us have never really brought in the revenue that at least my boss's expectation, their expectations, it's just not. We occasionally get a website, or we recently were in the midst of something with a client to do a video shoot for them. But it doesn't bring in a lot. I'm not saying don't do that or don't look into it, but it hasn't really produced a wealth of revenue for us, and it tends to take more time and produce challenges that it just takes more time, and it's very difficult. And I don't want to talk too long. I know time is limited, but I'll just, since I'm saying this, it's some company called the Bank of England it's a mortgage company that is partnered with the Ball State Alumni Association. And so they want us to do this video. And while I tried to explain to them, you're working with a student group and they are part-time employees and full-time students, their expectations still go far beyond what we are really able to do for them. Their turnaround time is ridiculous. And what I'm facing now is, we need the money so badly. And this is about $1,000 sale. So of course they're getting a video super cheap than what you would get from a professional agency. I didn't turn it down, and I probably should have. You know, we need the money so bad, but it's become such a struggle in dealing with this client and managing their expectations that I would like the luxury of saying, you know what, maybe we're not for you. So that's a long way of saying no. Right now, we're not doing anything new. It doesn't mean we won't. I am looking at finding ways for our side of student media, the agency, to get more university money. So we are talking with the Department of Journalism, actually, producing their alumni magazine. I need to find experiences for the students that might have funding attached that is not tied to advertising. We, like many of you, have lost pretty much all of our on-campus advertising as well. So I'm looking for opportunities like that. You know, if you have students that design or have any PR skills, or, you know, anything, I mean, I'm looking at those. We're also, I have a meeting next week to talk with our Chamber of Commerce about maybe producing their magazine as well. So I guess, yes, there is some new stuff, and I'm a moron. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. I appreciate it. Anybody cutting pricing for what you currently offer for next semester? Okay, show of hands. Anybody increasing pricing for what you currently do for next semester? Michelle and Leslie. Let's hear from Leslie first. What are you doing, and what are you charging for it?
We started a newsletter this semester in August for the first time, and we grossly underpriced it because we didn't know how it was going to go and how editorial was going to perform. It's done really, really well. And based on our numbers and the subscriber list, we need to bump up. So we're bumping that up. It's almost double. And I've got half of it sold for the spring. And then we also upped just our standard online prices because our traffic is so high compared. So it was time to do that as well. And now we have the numbers behind it. But we are going back to printing once a week, and all that pricing is going to be the same as it was, before.
Do you get your subscriber list from your university?
I took it from
Totally
just from our directory on the website. I just copy and pasted for 20 or 30 minutes. And it nicely fit into an Excel file.
perfect. Michelle, you guys are you're increasing prices on something as well?
Well, just beginning this semester, we reduced print and increased digital. We also added advertorial and newsletter options that we didn't have before. And we launched a new website this summer with Town News, which has provided us with a lot of additional, like the impact ads and the sticky ads we're charging a premium for on the website. So I would say digital prices went up by about 20%, and we brought down our print prices by closer probably to like 30%.
Wow. Would you mind sharing a link to this advertorial newsletter stuff you guys are doing in the chat? I would love to see that, because I've been wanting to do that, but we get a lot of pushback from our editorial team about, we don't want to spam our newsletter list. We don't want to be reaching out to them too much. So I've been getting some pushbacks. I would love to see some options that other people are doing.
Clarify, we have the advertorial on the website,
Mhm.
and then we're doing ads on the newsletter, but we did have one of our advertorial clients who wanted the advertorial to be in the newsletter, and we did do that. So I will find that edition, Catherine, and I can send it to you.
Oh, I would love to see that. Thanks.
I think it was with Adobe.
Oh, okay. Charlie, what about you guys?
We're doing something a little bit different. We're trying to engage with our advertising clients with their own direct to email newsletter that we send out every 2 weeks. So we give advertising and marketing tips. We talk about different things that we're advertising. And that's an easy export because, and we don't even have to talk to editorial about it because that just comes from our AdPro database. And so we've got about 400 subscribers to that when we created the list, and only lost about 30 that unsubscribed. So the open rate isn't amazing, but it's about 33% of 400. So we're at least showing our advertisers that we're still functioning, we're available whenever they're ready to meet with us. And then we still do our new business interns do a lot of cold calling from that list too, just to and they're not even really trying to do hard sells, they're just checking in, seeing how things are going, and that gets them a little bit more comfortable on the phones and just kind of reaching out to people that they already know have advertised with us, so it's not like a true cold call. So
interesting. I like that idea actually for new staff members to have to do that.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, kind of circling back to what I was talking about, my biggest fear for the upcoming year is keeping everybody trained too. And so we're really looking for different ways to constantly keep everybody engaged. So the other thing that we've done, since all of our meetings are on Zoom, hyper transparency is across the board. The only thing that I don't really want people talking about is what they're getting compensated. But everything else, we will invite all of our interns and unpaid, just people that think that they want to work in the advertising department or the graphic design department or stuff. Everybody has an open invitation to be at some of our scheduled meetings. So anybody can join a meeting. And they get to hear some of the conversations. And that has also, I think, helped our culture a lot because they get kind of a little glimpse of what their counterparts are doing. Versus, the old timey when we were in person, what do the editorial people do? I never see them in the office when I'm in the office. And it's just and the flip side to that is where are these advertising people? I never see them in the office. So that helps out a lot.
Sounds like it. Yeah, that's a constant battle here at the DPA for sure. We've got 5 minutes left. So anybody, what are you doing to sort of prep for next semester with your teams? Any other changes people would like to share? Somebody's got to be doing something. Adrian, I'm going to call on you only because I used to know the advisor at WashU. So what are you guys doing for any changes for next semester?
I will say we usually have a front-loaded fall in terms of special issues, but it was so, everybody was pivoting, trying to figure out, we started our classes about 3 weeks late. So fall just kind of was like, we just pushed everything to spring. So what normally we did a housing guide. We do really well with a housing guide. And we did that in December last year. I'm going to push it to January when they get back, when Res Life figures out what they're doing and all that. So we're really backloading the spring semester with whatever special issues. The one thing I did get out of my CMBAM meeting in February, I can't believe we all traveled then, was we had not done a coupon book since I've been here. And that was the one thing we did that I love. We're going to try to do that more often. So we're going to do that again in January too. And so the other thing we did with the housing guide is we took it, we haven't had a lot of success with this, but we took it online. The students have an online housing guide, and I made a separate page to that for off-campus living to try to come up with a digital way we had such a scramble for students looking for housing. And then we heard that they were still scrambling for January leases. So we're trying to develop, it's not going as well as I'd like it to, a more year-round housing guide online thing, that just a parking place for everybody. The thing I'm struggling with in terms of motivation in students is every February we have a board meeting and a gala where we celebrate our students, and it's a big thing they all look forward to. And we were just talking about that before the meeting, like how are we going to celebrate them remotely in the way that we're used to? And the whole camaraderie thing, I might just add, I love to bring in treats and stuff for the students, and it is largely social at WashU. We don't have a journalism program. So I was partnering with, trading with people like the Ice Creamery place here on campus, and they're across from a park, and we tried to just get them an ice cream meeting in a park. I sent them all Grubhub gift cards to say, normally we'd be having pizza in the office together and we're not. So here, I got all their local addresses. I sent them student life masks and little treats around Halloween. So just trying to keep that social aspect up for them, to keep them motivated as we try to figure out the monetary thing on our end. That's long-winded. I hope I didn't.
No, thank you. We do an annual banquet in January, and we're going to be doing it over Zoom. We're going to be sending out Grubhub gift cards. We're going to be doing little gift bags for anybody that registers. They'll get like a DP t-shirt and a mask and whatever. It's going to be very different, but you're right. We definitely need to recognize everybody. So that's cool. You guys are doing that too. I just saw that James posted in the chat. If anyone can post their media kit links, that would be really cool. So we can just see what other people are doing.
I'm actually creating a Dropbox link that everybody can just drop a PDF of their Dropbox in, and then we'll put it on the CMBAM website to share with everyone.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah.
Anything else people are doing new or different that you'd like to share? We just got 1 minute left.
So real quick, 1 minute, less than. We just discussed yesterday at UA, we've been doing our Alice magazine digitally. We've been doing the CW flip book digitally, our newspaper, and we started a new Black student publication, 1956. It's all been digital this fall. So everything has been digital. We've had no print. For the spring, we're going to keep most of those digital pieces, but in April, they'll all have a special issue that we print. Alice, normally we charge. Jesse's decided this year we're going to not charge to buy the magazine, so that'll be another free publication. We can. May I have your attention, please?
Yes, you can.
What is happening? Is that our countdown clock? So those are going to be best of. So all the digital publications, whether it's been 2 or 6, the Alice in 1956 April publication will kind of be a best of from their digital. We'll also still offer it digitally, but we'll have them to give out on campus. And then the CW is going to do a year of COVID. Also, it's the 10-year anniversary with the tornado that hit Tuscaloosa. That was real big. Can't believe that's been 10 years ago. So we are going to, try to hopefully have something printed for each of the individual teams by the end of the semester. That is different than what we have done this fall.
Cool. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, Sarah, I'll let you wrap it up.
Well, I was going to hand it off, I think, to Heather for a quick announcement and plug for the awards. But then also just say we can keep these conversations going in the listserv. We did record this, so we'll be sharing the link. And with that, I believe you'll also have access to the chat. It has a lot of good information in it. So Heather, would you like to announce any information on awards?
Hopefully everyone has seen that all of the categories are up for the annual contest. Then there is the secondary contest, not in importance, but just because it is in fact a second contest for individual categories and some special recognitions. So we have our 2 new divisions of the annual contest, one of which is products that you've made, and the other of which is sales and marketing, or S&M, as I like to call that division. And then the individual category contest will have your best designer, best salesperson, best PR person, there's another one,
Multimedia.
operations manager or sales manager. And then we created the awards committee this year, a best multimedia content creator. So for the first time, those people that you have who make your cool shit, like there's a place to recognize those people, which is awesome. Then also that has our best new member business program. So if you're a business program that just joined CMBAM in the past 2 to 5 years and you're doing great stuff, or you've learned things from CMBAM and you want to share those, this is the place to enter that category, is in the special recognitions. So check that out. As well as the committee and I met 2 weeks ago, I think, and in the course of an afternoon created very quickly a category of best COVID response plan. And that is ways that your school has pivoted to deal with the situation as it currently stands. So maybe you created some new publications, maybe you pivoted your strategy in the fall. I mean, maybe you totally redid prices or offered some specials, or over the summer, I know some people were even giving away advertising or spaces on their website free to clients, just as like a gesture of goodwill. Whatever you did, there is a place to enter that as your COVID response plan. And that's a totally new category that you can win. So the vision is sort of that depending on the situation in different years, there'll be different special recognition categories available. And that is this year's. So I wanted to direct everyone's attention to awards. The entries are due about 2 months and 1 week from now on January 25th at 7 p.m. So please have that on your calendars, especially if you're a school that will be back late in the spring. You probably want to get those taken care of as quickly as you can. Charlie's been working really hard on spreadsheets, ways for people to enter those very quickly. So that'll be great. We hope to have everything ready for you just as quickly as humanly possible to get those entries in and started. So yeah, just take your attention to that, and good luck to everyone. Remember, we are all in the same situation. So even though you think your numbers may not be great, remember no one's numbers are great, and keep those entries coming, because without entries, what am I doing?
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. Charlie, do you have anything to add?
I am just put the Dropbox address into the chat here. Plus, everybody should have just gotten an invite to it via email as well for the PDF rate cards. Other than that, I just want to thank our board members and committee members that have been super active this year and helping us kind of navigate the disruption of the pandemic. And I think we're making some very significant and relevant changes to our organization that are going to help set up our members well into the future. So I just hope we can keep this enthusiasm and passion as the COVID fatigue wears on and the Zoom fatigue wears on and all of the fatigue wears on. So yeah, I'm super excited about the upcoming year, which sounds really weird to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Charlie. And thank you all for joining us today. And we'll be sending out the link. So have a good rest of your week.